from the outset that I completely understand why Patrick Harvie has brought forward an amendment which requires greater information about the emissions associated with spend. I understand that. I understand the arguments for that. But the climate change plan is already required to provide cost estimates for the policies that are included in that plan. And the government publishes a statutory carbon assessment of the budget. I think Patrick Harvie mentioned this, required by Section 94 of the 2009 Act. Subsequent to that happening, I want to just outline some of the things the Government are doing to try and give more information in this space. The joint budget review by the Scottish Government and the Scottish Parliament is improving transparency on the budget and climate change funding with a new taxonomy on climate change spending. And the Scottish Government separately is just about to complete our pilot of the net zero assessment with a view to rolling out that approach in 2025 across all new significant Scottish Government spending decisions. So that will provide greater visibility of those areas that contribute to emissions and the aid the decision-making process. The joint budget review and net zero assessment are already, I think, providing significant improvements, but particularly the end of that pilot being rolled out in 2025, I think will make all the difference. Now, I want to talk to some of the practicalities. Yes, I will.
I'm grateful. I wonder if she could just indicate the work that she's talking about that's under development there. Is it the government's intention and commitment that that would be subject to independent scrutiny by a body other than government in order to ensure that Parliament's
on that particular point, I won't answer because I don't actually know for sure what that independent scrutiny is or whatever, and I would need to actually get back. But yeah, we can have a discussion about that, and maybe that's an area in which we could improve. I just want to talk to the practicalities of the independent review and what Mr Harvie's suggesting. So, the tight timescales for publishing the budget wouldn't allow time for an independent review. Obviously, we know the window between, the Scottish budget has been finalised after the UK budget's been announced, and in practicality, the current carbon assessment work associated with that budget would only be finalised about 48 hours before the budget is announced in Parliament and the publication of the budget, because that's the timescale that we're working on. I don't see where we would have time for an independent review of that, even if the information could be shared with Parliament. When would that independent review take place? Now, the sort of like sentiment behind it about having more information, as I said at the outset, I understand, and I would like to work with Mr Harvie on how we can strengthen that. Yes.
The timescale is potentially tight for the introduction of a budget. Presumably there would be opportunity for parliamentary scrutiny of that budget to actually include the wider environmental and climate impacts.
Yeah, and the information, we need to discuss whether or not you think the information that's provided as part of the budget that I've already mentioned, the information that's already in the sort of like the joint budget review, the information that will be in the rollout of the approach that's taken about Scottish Government spending generally, whether that would be sufficient for Parliament to have that enhanced scrutiny. So I think there's room for manoeuvre in the substance of Amendment 27. But as it stands at the moment, I think the biggest issue I have with it is the practicality of actually delivering on what's in the amendment being almost impossible to achieve. So with that, I'll probably say to Patrick Harvie that, again, this is another amendment that I'm happy to discuss with them ahead of stage 3.
Yeah, thank you for taking the intervention. I was just trying to think also, obviously, financial budget is made up of the capital budget as well. I'm just trying to think how that would potentially work with this, because I would imagine that would be a lot more work to work out what the carbon impact of that capital project or programme would be. And then I guess that potentially would mean budgets then having to come back maybe months later, because maybe the carbon side of thing doesn't sort of match up. I'm just trying to think, as you say, the practicalities, how it would or could work.
Yeah, and given what Mr Harvey has said about, it's not just about the actual, the emissions impact of, say, the construction of something. It's be the long-term impact, and that obviously gets a little bit more complicated as well. But I think as it's drafted at the moment, I understand the intention. Parliament would like more deeper analysis of the carbon impact of government spend, and I understand that. I've set out how government has moved in those areas, and I'm hopeful that the pilot that is just about to complete will actually provide a lot more of that information. I think I need to have a discussion with Mr Harvey about what more he'd want to see in that space that's actually practical, it can practically be delivered, I think is my main point here.